Hello there and welcome back to Beast Movie Recaps. Today we are going to tell the story of the action drama film called White House Down from the year 2013. Warning, spoilers ahead. Please be cautious. The movie opens by showing John Cale, who is a security officer in charge of escorting the president's spokesman named Eli Raffleson. He escorts him to the White House, and after completing his duties, he picks up his daughter named Emily Cale, then takes her to the White House. In order to impress Emily, John even applied for a job to become a presidential guard. Carol Finity was the one who interviewed John and was John's friend during his college days in the past. When Carol saw John's history, she rejected John, who wanted to apply as a presidential guard. John was forced to lie to Emily so as not to disappoint her. Then Emily saw that there was a tour group and she joined them. John was the one who guided the tour group. In the gallery room, Emily asked John where the toilet was, then Emily left there. Martin Walker, the head of the presidential secret agent, he advised Carol to take leave because he saw her depressed. Carol agreed and immediately went home from there. In the Capitol room, there was a mysterious man who put a trolley of cleaning supplies in the middle of the room. Then suddenly the trolley exploded, making everyone around the explosion feel panic. They were immediately evaluated, including Raffleson and the vice president, who were not far from the scene. The vice president was immediately evaluated using an Air Force plane with his bodyguards and assistant, Jenna. A group of terrorists managed to infiltrate, and they immediately carried out the action, killing all the guards there. John, who was worried about Emily, immediately contacted her, but at the same time, a terrorist broke into John's room. Fortunately, John managed to escape their attack. He immediately went to follow Emily to the toilet. Meanwhile, Martin was waiting to be picked up by a helicopter, but the helicopter was successfully disabled by terrorists guarding the roof of the building. Martin, who heard that, immediately escorted the president to the bunker. On the other hand, when John arrived at the toilet, he was surprised by a terrorist, but John managed to kill him. John took the gun and radio from the terrorist, and the scene then switched to Martin. Arriving at the bunker, he suddenly killed all the guards there. It turned out that Martin had betrayed and had a grudge against the president. In the past, the president had sent his son, named Kevin, to run a secret operation. But the secret operation failed, which resulted in Kevin being killed. Martin then contacted his fellow terrorist, Stance, who was the leader of the terrorist group, asking him to pick up the president. John, who heard Martin's conversation on the radio, then immediately helped the president. John finally managed to save the president and managed to escape to the elevator. The terrorists tried to chase John, but they failed to catch him. Apparently, John and the president were hiding on top of the elevator. The president then told Martin why he betrayed him. Then the president revealed that he needed an anti-trace phone to call for help, and the phone was in his room on the second floor. They immediately went upstairs by climbing through the pipe. At the same time, Raffleson was heading to the Pentagon, and when he got there they were greeted by General Colfine. Turning to the terrorists, Skip Tyler is the hacker of the terrorist group. He installed surveillance cameras and bombs downstairs. Then he went to the computer center room and hacked all the data there. Emily, who was busy filming the terrorists, suddenly entered a message on her cell phone that made a terrorist realize her existence and managed to find Emily. Before Emily was arrested, she had uploaded the video to YouTube. Then Emily was detained along with other hostages. Switching to John, when he was about to open the elevator door, suddenly the elevator moved up and they were almost squeezed. They were stuck there and could not move for some time. Switching to the Pentagon Defense Center, they were having a meeting with the vice president. Then the top officials decided to do the 25th Amendment, which means the inauguration of a new president, to prevent unwanted things from happening. Carol contacted the White House to negotiate, but it turned out that the one who received the call was Martin. Carol was surprised because he was the mastermind behind all this rebellion. Martin then asked for a ransom of $400 million as a guarantee that the president was safe. Carol, on the other hand, has a plan, which is to pick up Martin's wife to persuade him to surrender. Switch to John. Soon the elevator moved down and John and the president immediately went to get the anti-trace phone. Soon the phone was found and John contacted his friend named Naval. Then the phone was connected to the vice president, and when the vice president received, the phone was immediately connected to the Pentagon. Carol was surprised that John managed to save the president. All this time Carol underestimated John, who was incompetent at work. Carol directed them to exit through the underground passage, but suddenly John was caught by two terrorists, but John managed to eliminate one of them. The president also acted by killing the other. After that, Carol told John, asking him to open the news on television. The news reported that Emily managed to record the terrorist activities. John became upset because Emily must be in danger. Turning to Martin, he accidentally saw a magazine nearby. He immediately realized that the president would definitely take the anti-tracking phone to call for help. Martin, along with the terrorists, immediately went to his room, but arriving at the president's room, they found nothing, while John and the president were hiding in the chimney. Martin and the terrorists saw the television show, and after watching television, they immediately went to Emily and took her cell phone. After John escaped, he immediately went underground as directed by Carol. Turning to the Pentagon and seeing the video footage on television, they immediately tracked down the terrorists. It turned out that they were former special soldiers who were now mercenaries. Turning to John, arriving underground, John separated from the president. However, the surveillance camera installed by the terrorists earlier managed to track their whereabouts. The president tried to get out, but the door had been fitted with a bomb by Tyler. Tyler knew the president was in the basement, so he asked his friends to go after him. John immediately picked up the president after realizing the presence of the terrorists, and they immediately moved away from there. They got into a shootout, but John was getting cornered, so he had to find another exit, and finally they arrived at the car garage. John and the president used the car that was there to escape, and the terrorists chased them from behind. The chase was inevitable, and was witnessed live by the media crew. Shortly after that, John saw Emily being held captive by a terrorist, and because of this John was caught off guard, so he was successfully paralyzed by an RPG rocket and bounced into the pool. John and the president immediately got out of the car and from entering the room. Stantz, who saw them, immediately opened fire on them with a machine gun. The shot hit a gas cylinder, which made a violent explosion. Martin searched for their bodies, but couldn't find them. Then he saw that the door to the underground passage was open. Inside the Air Force One kill, the vice president was being sworn in to become the next president. Switch to the Pentagon, and not long after, Martin's wife arrived there. Then Martin's wife persuaded him to surrender, but after knowing Martin's goal, his wife supported him. Carol then asked for help from an officer who was there, to immediately check with whom the terrorists were connected. Switch to John. After they escaped the explosion, he treated the wounded president. John told that his daughter was very obsessed with politics and the profession of presidential bodyguard. At the Pentagon, the vice president planned an airborne attack using Black Hawks. General Clawfine then contacted John and revealed that he had air missiles. Hearing that, John immediately went to the roof of the building to help the Black Hawk troops, but one by one the Black Hawks were taken out by the enemy using RPGs. A shootout between John and the terrorists ensued. John even came face to face with Stantz. They fell from the roof, but a terrorist helped Stantz. Fortunately, John managed to escape. Stantz, who chased him, accidentally found a ticket that John dropped, and finally learned that Emily was John's daughter. On the other hand, Tyler, who hacked into the computer network, was ordered by Martin to shoot the Air Force plane carrying the vice president, which eventually the vice president who was on the plane died instantly. Hearing the news, the president's spokesman, Raffleson, was immediately sworn in as the next president. After being sworn in, Raffleson ordered General Clawfine to destroy the White House with Raptor fighter planes. On the other hand, Stantz, who already knew that Emily was Joan's daughter, immediately took her to where Martin was. Martin announced to Joan over the radio and threatened to kill his daughter if John did not hand over the president. John intended to surrender, but the president preceded him. Then John contacted Carol and said that the president had been caught. Carol tells John that the newly inaugurated president has ordered the military to destroy the White House, and John has 8 minutes to save his daughter. When Martin meets the president, he forces him to open the nuclear suitcase, because only the president can open it. Soon the fire alarm goes off. It turns out that John deliberately set fire to the president's room to distract them. Tyler, on the other hand, he wanted to get out of the White House through the door to the basement, but he remembered when he opened the door, and the bomb exploded and Tyler died. Back to the president, he tried to immobilize Martin, but failed. Then shortly thereafter, Martin managed to open the nuclear suitcase, and after opening, Martin immediately turned on the nuclear code. The situation at the Pentagon became panic, because the nukes had all been activated by Martin. Martin, who was busy entering the nuclear coordinate code, was blocked by the president, who tried to block Martin, but the president was shot by him. When John was infiltrating, he was suddenly surprised by an attack from Stantz, but John managed to defeat Stantz by tying him with a vest containing a bomb and then exploding it. After finishing with Stantz, John saw Martin holding Emily. When Martin was busy with the nuclear suitcase again, suddenly John came using a car and crashed into Martin's body. Seeing Martin still alive, John then shot him with a machine gun. Finished after that, John hugged Emily tightly and told her to leave the White House immediately because there was a plane that would destroy the White House while John went to save the president. Emily took a flag and raised the flag in the park. The pilot of the Raptor plane who was ready to shoot the White House saw Emily, then canceled his mission. John felt calm because what Emily did was successful. Then suddenly the president appeared from behind, which turned out to be the bullet shot by Martin hitting his wife's gift watch. Shortly thereafter, Carol contacted John and said that this was all unfinished. It turned out that there was a brain behind everything that happened. One way to find out was to check the cell phone Martin used to find out who he was connected with. John then immediately checked the cell phone used by Martin. Then shortly thereafter, Raffleson arrived at the White House and was greeted by John. John said that the president was dead. Then John revealed the rotten plan of the new president, which turned out to be the brain behind all the White House attacks. Everything was proven from the messages he sent to Martin. However, Raffleson told John that no one would believe his words because now he was president. Suddenly the real president appeared and ordered the general to arrest Raffleson. It turned out that Raffleson had been disagreeing with America's peace with the Middle East country. When the president was about to board the helicopter, he ordered John to escort him, and at that time John officially became the president's security guard. John then invited Emily to come with him and the movie ended. So, what do you think about this movie? Did this movie impress you? Well, maybe you can write it in the comment section. If you like this video, don't forget to like it, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.